to CC your cylinder heads? Why would you even want to CC your cylinder heads? What's a CC anyway? Find out next on Broke Into a Garage. To answer the first question, why would you want to CC your cylinder heads? And what does that mean? So a CC, I'll start off with that, which is question 2, is a unit of volume. It's a cubic centimeter or a milliliter. Those are interchangeable. So the reason you'd want to see how much volume is in your cylinder head, if you look at your cylinder head right here and you see the chamber, is because whenever your piston is all the way down, actually let me start all over, that is part of the calculation of how to calculate compression ratio, which you can see what I use in my spreadsheet here. So compression ratio, to define that, it is the difference between when the piston's all the way down in the bore of the block plus your head, the volume of the head, right, compared to whenever that piston comes all the way up. Because that's what's happening on that compression stroke. It's compressing all that stuff. So if you compress it 10 times, so in other words, this volume is 10 times larger than this volume, you have a 10-to-1 compression ratio. So what you want to do is to compress all your air and fuel as much as you can with your engine, because that's how you get more power out of it. But if you get too much, you have some negative effects, such as spark knock. And then you have to run higher octane fuel, like premium. You know, some vehicles got to have premium. That's one of the reasons why. So I'm going to go on to how you can do this. How do you check it? And this is just a real easy example in a ballpark about where you're at. And a lot of times you can just take if you have an unmodified cylinder head and an unmodified factory engine, you really don't have to worry about it too much. But as soon as you start boring the engine out, or milling the heads down, or changing pistons out, or changing valves out, all those things can drastically change your compression ratio. So that's why that Excel sheet you see is so many entries on there to calculate what it is. So, on to see how to do it. Okay, I have the cylinder head. I'm using tape to take this off. There's several methods that you can do to achieve the same thing. Basically, I want a good flush area on the head so that the water doesn't come up and have a meniscus that bubbles up over there, which adds more CC volume. So, what I'm going to be using to CC this is just something you can get in the kitchen department. So you can see that there's a readout here from 0 to 30 milliliters, which would be 0 to 30 cc's. So I have my tape on here, sealed off good, spark plug in the hole. What I'm going to do is come in here, put this all the way into the water, fill it all the way up, because I'll probably have a little bubble in there. So it looks like I have just a little bit of bubble there, but that's not too big of a deal. See how it kind of comes up to the top. Alright, what I'm going to do is, and I already checked this, when it's all the way down at the bottom, my 0 mark is in the middle of this black. It's in the middle of this black line right here. So I'm going to bring this down. Where I can see the 30 milliliter is right in the middle of the mark. So it's going to take all of this, and I'll have to do it probably twice. So this is going to be 30 cc's going into the chamber. Your bike starting up, so we might get some bike background noise here in a minute. or the neighbors talking, one or the other. Repeat. Center the middle of the little black there on my 30. So I've got a good guesstimate on the book value. So I'm going to slow down. Okay. So I've got about 50 in right now. I'm just making sure that the water is touching the tape. That way I'm not adding more to it, right? I'm watching it, making sure that, okay, there's 60. So it's not quite all the way up. And I did this once just to kind of test it out right quick. So tape's a little wet. So I'm just looking at the general, is it good and even? I'll come up one more time, but I'm only going to fill it up to 10 because I think it's going to be somewhere around between 60 and 65. Alright, so I'm watching this, and I've got a little bit of air pocket right in there. And have a little bit of meniscus in there as well, right? That looks pretty good right there. And I know you can't see the water in there, but you're seeing what I'm doing. So, I started up 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, right there. So I added 4 more cc's to that. And this isn't super exact, but it'll get you within plus or minus a couple cc's, right? If you just have no idea where they're at, this gets you what it is. So that comes up to 64 cc's on this head, and like I said, you know, I could be adding just a little bit more, but that still comes out about right. The values that I come up with was between 62 and 65 cc's for the E6 head. Given I come up with 64, that number makes sense, and that's what we're shooting for right there when we do things like this. Is the result that I come up with, does it even make sense? So, yes, it does. So, that's a good check. That's what this is. It's roughly 64, I'd say 62 to 64 in there. I might add a little bit more because my tape isn't exactly flat right now. And you could use a piece of plexiglass in there, and that would get a little better. So there's good techniques, but this is good for what I'm trying to do, is get within that plus or minus 2 cc range in there. So I feel pretty good about my result. If I wanted to, I could go through each one of these, but honestly, I'm not going to be using this on some 13-to-1 compression ratio, high horsepower engine, you know, spinning 10,000 RPMs. So, for what I'm doing, we're good. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and don't be afraid to comment. See you next time on Broken Tool Garage.